Average at Best Cornhole here, and we got some new series and a new company for us, Non-Typical Bag Co. They're actually sort of localish to us, so we picked up a couple sets from them. The Redemption, which we do see around on our cornhole scene, and then their new series, the Lit. These bags are pretty similar, but there is some differences, and we're going to discuss that, and we think that they each have their own purpose.
Yeah. All right, speeds in these, and the Redemptions is your 9-5, very common combination of speeds. And on the Lit, we have an 8 and a 6. It's kind of nice seeing the 8s. We always like to see those because you can, flip it over and not necessarily have to worry about running off the back of the board every time.
Jump to materials, and we do have the yard carpet for the Redemption, and then the Lit, they have a hybrid also, but it is a little different than that, and that's where you get the extra speed, a little bit faster. Yeah. Now, it really reminds me of the Navigator 2.0s we just reviewed. It's just not anywhere near as thick or stiff as they were, so that's the only thing that's making me think it's not, but they could have just used a different liner.
Right. All right, the template on these, and we're going with a medium. We were just kind of discussing it. It kind of feels like it may be a medium small, but I think it's just to say it's your typical, medium template. Both kind of have a nice fullness to them, but also with a little bit of a flop feel. They're kind of right in that sweet spot, right?
Yeah, so medium and medium fullness.
Yep.
Fill and flop on these, and there's a little bit of differences in the fill. So the Lit, it has the traditional 75% flat with 25% round. The Redemption, on the other hand, though, has 65% flat with the 35% round. Now, I know he does use the smaller round beads, which is neat. I like those a lot more than the bigger round beads because sometimes that just feels too bulky in your hand. The smaller round beads, seem to blend in with that flat fill a little bit better in my mind. With that extra amount of round beads, though, I think this bag is going to be, a little bit more drippier than what the Lit is.
Yeah. Yeah, and you found all that out by speaking with him, right?
Yeah, I went direct to the source on that information, so I know that's legit. And as far as floppy, these are the bags that you'd say, yeah, they're floppy, but they're not overly floppy. Right. It's right in that sweet spot again.
That sweet spot. And that's pretty cool that he was able to, give you that information because a lot of times we speculate or just, give our best thoughts on what fill ratios and stuff. So knowing those exact percentages is nice. So I appreciate him taking the time to give you that information.
And you will get to it, but I think you can honestly see a little bit of a difference in that too while you're playing them.
Yeah. All right, talk a little bit about the bagmanship and again why we love these smaller companies, right? Because it's excellent, right? I couldn't even nitpick any quality issues or any bagmanship related things with this. Everything looks great, feels great, and they've been pretty durable. Smaller companies every time seem to knock that out of the box.
Yeah, and when I was talking to Non-Typical, he was really highlighting some extra things he does, which tells me that, he really does care about his bags and his bagmanship. And, everything's double stitched. All the inside fabrics on the seams are sealed, which it's easy for like a large company that has lasers to do it or whatever, but he still does that as a small company. I don't know, with a lighter by his hand or something. I don't know how that works, but I appreciate it anyways.
Yeah.
We're going to discuss a highlight and a low light of these bags, and I'm going to start with the Redemption, and I briefly touched on it. It's a fill, I think that's a little bit more small beads than most companies put in a bag, and it shows. It adds a little extra drip to the bag, and it gives a really good hand feel. Now, unfortunately, though, the problem with a little bit more round beads is people that don't have a great flat bag, they're going to experience some nasty kicks. And we did see that from people. It's something that they can plan and prepare for, with their shot, but it is there and it was affecting them.
All right, in the Lit, again, not a super common fast side or slow side. It's one that we don't think we've really experienced an exact, comparison of that material. And it's, it has its benefits and its cons. It's a little deceiving because, when I first picked this up and stuff, I didn't really expect it to be, quite as quick as it was. So that took me a little bit to get adjusted to.
Well, because it looks so much like the other ones.
Right. Yeah. It really looks like a lot. It feels like, most of the hybrid materials that we deal with. But yeah, it was a little bit quicker, and it took me a minute to adjust to that. And I think it may have affected my ability to put a little action on the bag as well.
And just to touch on one more thing with them, I felt like it was easy to switch back and forth from these bags, especially, if your board's got too slow, you pull out the lit, it's a good replacement. I did feel like the lit was better suited for an average player compared to the redemption, which probably better for more of an advanced player that wants to do some things with it.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely found more forgiveness in the lit. With that said, I'll just lead right into forgiveness, and the lit, it offers some pretty good forgiveness. With that, material being a little bit faster, you don't get as strong as unexpected kicks. But the problem is sometimes I was off the back of the board. So the forgiveness there, as far as hitting the board but missing the hole wasn't that great. But it did pretty good. It didn't do too many things I wasn't expecting it to do. And that's what I look for with forgiveness, I think.
Yeah, we don't want to say that the redemption isn't forgiving. I mean, it's a fairly forgiving bag. It's a hybrid material bag.
Right.
It just wasn't as forgiving as the lit. Right. And we did mention that some people had pretty nasty kicks to them, but that's a good thing because then that means you can shape that bag.
Right.
On the whole bodiness and the redemption, oh my goodness, this was the thing that stood out about this bag to me was its whole bodiness. And I had many times where, I'd throw a bag and I'd be like, oh man, it's off. And then you just see it catch and somehow go in the hole and you give that little head nod like, how the heck did that happen? But this bag did that.
Yeah, we were like commenting it while we were playing. Like it was more than just whole bodiness because even if you were nowhere near the hole, it just found a way to track towards the hole. So we were making bad throws that were going in and we were just like, okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But just something about that bag, it was a whole magnet.
Collectibility and the redemptions, I collected with them, but I did have some issues, especially when you got that bag off to the side and you're thinking that you can put some tilt on your bag and catch it.
Yeah.
It seemed like it would hit and the corner would lift up a little bit and it would go past my collect. It wasn't like grabbing it and spinning it around. Now obviously if your collect is straight on, it had no issues at all, but it is a little bit bouncier and it could bounce over a little bit and miss that collect. The lit on the other hand, no issues collecting with that at all. Only issue I had is if I was a little off target with that, it might have sped past the bag instead of collecting it.
The lit, what I noticed too, is with it being a little bit faster, some of them, short blockers and stuff were a lot easier to move up the board. So a couple times where I tried putting a blocker with those, but I left it way on the front of the board because I ended up throwing it too high, trying to adapt to the speed and still put up a blocker. But I was able to just chip that bag up without really much issue. So that was, what I noticed with the collectibility on that one. All right, playability on these, and I think both bags had the potential to really play any style of game. The Redemption's definitely going to be a lot easier to play a dirty style game with. It's a little bit slower, so it's easier to control being in front of the hole with it. But everything's there. I think you're probably going to be more successful in rolling the Redemption as well.
But I think I've seen someone roll the lit though too.
Right.
So
yeah, that's what we're saying. Both bags can do pretty much whatever you need to playability wise. The lit's probably your better straight hole runner, especially for a less experienced player.
Yeah, that's my mind. I'm going to play the Redemption more of a dirty style game, run holes when I have to.
Yeah.
The lit, I'm just going to focus on running holes with that bag.
Yeah, I think the Redemption is not only good at being an offensive dirty playing bag, but also a defensive one to where you're beating blockers because it had enough activeness in the bag to where you could go around those pretty easy. You wouldn't have to try to push through. You could get creative and work around things.
And for some reason, it always caught that bag at a hole.
It did. That's what I'm saying. So yeah. Put all the blockers up you want. We're beating it with the Redemption.
Yep. To give you some company information, there is no website. You got to find these guys on Facebook. So find their Facebook page, which is just at Non-Typical Bag Co. But they also have one of those fan pages, which is, as you would guess it, at Non-Typical Fan Page or Bagco fan page. Sorry about that. But yeah, so you can purchase the bags just by sending direct messages right to the company and ask any questions you might have.
Going into our final thoughts, and we always start with cost here, and not too bad for these guys, right? We got $60 as kind of their standard rate, but if you want a custom bag like this sweet one we got over here, you're looking at $80. But hey, for $80 for a custom bag, that's especially of this quality, we got nothing bad to say about that.
It's a good deal. Finally, our overall thoughts. Redemption, I think this bag is unique because the material combinations you find on so many other bags.
Right.
This one is a little bit different in my mind to those bags. And like I said, I think it's the small beads and a little bit extra of the small beads. But it makes this bag super hole friendly. It was easy for me to throw.
Yeah.
I saw other people struggle a little bit, but they adapted to it. They got used to it. It'd be a good bag for a switch. Like he said, you can play an offensive dirty game and also a defensive dirty game with it.
Yeah.
The lit, that hybrid slow side, I think that might gain some popularity. We're starting to like it because it is a little bit faster. Everybody's always looking for a little bit faster bag, but you still can manipulate it some. And the fill levels that he put in that, made it user-friendly for average people, but it's still, with the small beads, it adds enough for, more advanced players or people that want to do a few more things with that bag.
Yeah, when we first got these two sets of bags right off of the rip, I thought I was going to like the lit more, knowing that this had a little more rounds in it, and sometimes that is a struggle for me. But after throwing them and stuff, the redemption, it won me over quite a bit. We're not done with these bags yet, though. The lit, I'm still excited to see once we start getting outdoors. How is this going to play with a little bit of humidity? If it slows down a little bit, but not much, this could be a great, all day bag going into the evening bag. So I'm, curious to see, what we do with that. But other than that, very impressed with what these guys are offering. All right, and that's all we got today for Non-Typical Bag Co. And if you're going to be average at something, be average at cornhole.